Okay, we're all set.
Okay, thank you. Got a minute here.
Yeah. So I'm not asking to go all up along there, it's just right here.
You're on.
Good evening, and welcome to the Zoning Board of Appeals for November 8th. If you've not had the pleasure of spending an evening with us in the past, I will tell you how the meeting goes. You are asking us to take an existing zoning rule and changing it for you because you have experienced a particular hardship if you have to obey this zoning rule. And that's, you're presenting us with a variance. We have one variance to hear tonight. What will happen is I will read the variance request. The city will show us the zoning code that you're asking us to not pay attention to for your sake. You'll see the map and things up there on the wall. I will ask you to come forward and tell us why this particular variance is needed, what particular difficulties you are encouraging by of keeping the existing zoning rule on your property. If your variance is granted, it will stay with the property, not with you. If your variance is not granted, you have the option of going to the Court of Common Pleas. We will ask you to be sworn in. We will also conduct the meeting after you testify. The board will ask you questions. I will close the public hearing. We'll all stay right here in the same room, and you'll hear us discuss. We'll come back into the public hearing, and the secretary will call the roll, and you will know before you leave the room whether or not your variance has been granted. If you are going to be testifying tonight, please stand now and raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Okay, you're all sworn in. The first order of business is approval of the minutes from the October 11th meeting. May I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Will the secretary, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Minutes are approved. The one variance we have today is Troy Dunn, 501 West Wooster Street, has requested a variance to allow the construction of a 6-foot-tall fence in the front yard, corner lot. Fence is in the front yard facing South Maple Street, which would be 2 feet taller than the 4-foot maximum allowed and would extend past the front-facing elevation of the principal structure on the adjacent lot to the south. Heather?
Thank you.
I guess you're right.
Under the zoning code, section 150.79 fences, the following are applicable to all fences erected on all property except as otherwise set forth herein. Under A, except when fence is required by the zoning code for screening, a fence shall not exceed heights indicated in table 25. When required by other provisions of the zoning code for screening, a fence shall be a minimum of 6 feet in height. Under the table 25 chart, fence regulations, you'll see where it says fence location, front yard, side yard, rear yard. So in this circumstance, we're pointing out that this is a corner lot, so it's got the 2 front yards along the South Maple and then, of course, West Wooster. So you'll see under front yard, maximum fence height is 4 feet. And then under the side yard, it also states that fences of more than 4 feet in height in the side yard may not be extended closer to the street right of way than the front-facing elevation of any principal structure on the lot or an adjacent lot. So I'll show a later aerial where you'll see that it does poke out a bit in front of the house behind the property. Here's an aerial view of the property. So again, you can see that it is a corner lot. Using pictometry, here is a rear view of the lot, so that'd be facing north. And then here's looking at one side of the property, so that'd be facing east. Here's looking at the front of the property, facing south. And then looking at the other frontage of the house. Here's a picture of the front of the property from West Wooster. Here's just looking down the side of the property just to see there is the existing fence that was already constructed there. That's not in violation at all. I'm just letting you know that. Again, just giving a view of that. And then here's another view of the house looking there towards the corner. And then here's closer up at the fence. And here's a close-up view also. And so in this circumstance, we tried to highlight in your packet that it's just about 2 sections of fencing that are in that front yard that are 6 foot tall, and then again past the neighboring house. And then here is facing north, if you would be sitting on South Maple Street, just to give you an idea of what that fencing looks like from that perspective. Here's a sketch that was part of your packet. Again, the whole new fence that was constructed is highlighted, but we tried to put the red asterisk by the area of fencing that the variance is needed for. And then we also had in your packet some information about the history of the property since the fence was constructed and discovered by code enforcement on September 15th, 2023. Jason Westgate, code enforcement officer, confirmed there was not an approved zoning permit on file for a fence at this address. So on September 18th, a letter was sent to the owner notifying them of that a permit was required for a new fence. On September 26th, the owner called with questions about the letter received. He thought that the contractor was going to obtain the necessary permits. And then October 12th, the owner did apply for a zoning permit. Then October 13th, staff reviewed the permit and found a 6 foot tall portion of the fence exceeded the height limit by going into the front yard setback, again, the one facing South Maple Street, and past the face of the neighbor's house at 124 South Maple Street. Also on October 13th, Mr. Westgate informed the owner of the options, either reducing the fence height or applying for variance. And then October 16th, the owner applied for variance on October 16th. Attached is an email with a picture and then the applicable zoning code. Additionally, I created an aerial view just to give you an idea. I tried to highlight in yellow at the bottom of the aerial view with a yellow line that face of the house. So it does go back a little bit past that. And then there's a couple little dash lines there on that aerial view showing where a variance is required for that fencing. And then I indicated that the front yard setback of the home is 7.59 feet. And then that would be the West Wooster house. And then I gave you the number of 10.71 feet for the neighboring house. Again, just giving you the front yard setback and hoping that would be helpful to you. We did not receive any phone calls or written correspondence that I'm aware of. An advertisement was placed in the newspaper of general circulation as required. A site notice was placed at the site. The other notices required by the administrative code were posted in the proper time and location. A letter was mailed, first-class mail, to the tax mailing address of the owner and adjoining property owners. Therefore, all the procedure requirements for the hearing have been met.
Thank you. Mr. Dunn, come to the microphone, please, and state your name and your address, and then explain to us why not being granted this variance would be a particular difficulty for you.
Troy Dunn, 501 West Wooster Street. I guess we were applying we originally put up the fence for our dog and wanted to try to minimize sight lines for her. She's very reactive and barks. And we bought the fence through Home Depot and used one of their contractors, which, like I said, I had thought they were applying for the zoning permit. And when he was out and looked at the property, he told us that the fence facing the road had to be 4 feet, but he didn't say anything about to the back of the property there. I assumed he knew the zoning laws for the town since he was a fencing contractor. And, at this point, we would incur an additional expense to have that torn out and redone. And like I said, I, again, wanted to try to reduce, stimulation for the dog as much as possible.
Okay. Anyone else? Mrs. Dunn, are you going to? Okay. All right. Gentlemen, do you have any questions or comments for Mr. Dunn?
Have you contacted the contractor and asked him if he'd work with you?
I haven't talked to him as of yet. I wanted to see where we were. We did have an issue with part of the fence that I had wanted to be 4 foot, and it ended up being 6 foot, and he wanted to charge me extra to just take out a gate in one section of fence. He wanted an additional $3,000, and that was before we even had the fence totally put in. expect him to be too cooperative. I was not really impressed with the contractor they recommended.
Anybody else have any questions or comments?
I had a similar problem with Home Depot, not on a fence, but something else where I used one of their contractors and there was a pretty big problem. I didn't go to the contractor, I went to the manager at Home Depot and explained what the problem, what the issue was, and totally agreed with me. And Home Depot made it right.
Okay.
You do understand that the responsibility to have the proper permits really rests with the homeowner, not the contractors. Okay.
Okay.
I would say, Mr. Dunn, and I don't mean to make you a scapegoat, and my comments, I don't want you to think I'm directing specifically at you. You happen to fall into the range of it, but part of what we need to do is find that there are unusual circumstances that warrant having a variance granted. And I don't think we've had some recent cases where homeowners have not gotten a permit and then come to us later. And, you know, I personally don't want this board to be looked at as a rubber stamp that, you know, don't worry about it. If it's not right, the city will give you a variance, particularly since the Planning Commission and City Council worked so hard over the last couple of years, giving us a very nice new zoning code. I certainly sympathize with what you're saying. I'm not going to go any further than say this at this point in this proceeding, but I think you might possibly, based on my experience anyway, get some satisfaction if you go to Home Depot and talk to the manager and explain what they did. The guy told me, the manager down there, I can't remember his name. I could actually get it for you if you were interested. But he said they are very concerned about the reputations, not only the quality, but these kinds of issues with their contractors. And pretty much on that basis is why he made it right with me. So.
Mr. Dunn, as I understood it, your particular difficulty was, number one, your dog, and number two, the expense of the fence. Is that valid?
That's valid. And
Okay.
it was all rather unexpected. Like I said, this was the first contractor I've ever worked with that didn't go out and get the permits that they needed.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions or comments? Okay, hearing none, I'm going to close the public hearing. Thank you very much. Gentlemen?
I'd like to suggest for a thought or discussion among us that since I heard the testimony of Mr. Dunn that he hadn't yet spoken to see if he could receive any relief from either Home Depot or that contractor that they employ, I would rather like to us maybe to suggest that we could hold this in abeyance, have him get some time to do that very thing and see what his results are, and that might determine whether there really is a hardship that we have to intervene for.
Okay, anybody else?
I mean, that seems like a really sensible approach here to me. I mean, I don't, this isn't like a, massive variance we're granting, but we did just establish, we want to go by that, but this is totally a solvable issue, and if we can't get on the back end, then, maybe we can come up with something down the road.
Mr. Dunn, would you be amenable to just holding this, putting it on the table, so to speak, and then you go and see if you can get them to make some type of restitution and then come back to us? And Heather, I think when he comes back and refiles, we can waive the $100 fee again.
Well, I would
Correct?
just request that you table it.
Yeah, well, that's what I said. We would just table it and then you would come back. But you really need to look and see if there isn't another way besides coming to us. Is that amenable to you?
I have no problem. I actually hadn't thought about going back to Home Depot. And
Sometimes, as Mr. Noble said, the higher up you go in the place, the better you can,
they will work with me on that.
yeah.
I don't have a problem with doing it. I just,
didn't think about
like I
it.
said, he wanted $3,000 for 2 sections before,
That-
and that was before it was even put in.
So that won't be on the record without going to the microphone.
I'm sorry, what, please?
That won't be on the record, what he just said, without going to the microphone.
Yeah, you want to come to the microphone, please? I keep forgetting we're on Zoom or something. You want to say that again, please?
Yeah, I have no problem going back to Home Depot and talking to them. I actually hadn't thought about going to Home Depot, but I didn't figure I would get anywhere with the owner of the business, being that the prior issues I had with him.
Okay, then I would strongly suggest you go to Home Depot and see what remedy they can make. I think that's the best way
Yeah.
to start, and then you can come back if you. Okay.
Yeah, I have no problem if they're willing to work with me
Okay.
on doing that.
All right.
Not
Okay.
to tell you your business, but if it were me going to, from my experience, I'd just tell them, the fence contractor installed this, it wasn't in accordance with the city zoning code. All I want them to do is go back, take out the 6-foot section that's in violation and put in a 4-foot section. And, that would have been done had they done their job. Seems to me like you got a great argument. and
All right,
I wish you luck
Okay.
with that.
thank you.
Okay, gentlemen, I'm going to come back into the public hearing, and I need a motion to table this request so Mr. Dunn can try the option of going to the Home Depot.
Also move.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
The motion has been made and seconded. Did you see, Mr. Secretary, did you see the second? Mm-hmm. Okay. Will you call the roll, please?
Tim Emmerich? Well, Tim Emmerich?
Here?
Right
Yeah.
there.
Here.
Roll call. It's a yes or?
Yes or no? Yes, you're going to
Yes,
table.
table.
Judy Annis?
Yes.
Hobie Johnson?
Yes.
Rod Noble?
Yes.
David Flager?
Yes.
Jay Sockman? Yes.
Your request will be tabled until you can talk to Home Depot. Okay? Now we do lobby visitation. Is there anybody here who wants to visit with us? Mr. Harrell, congratulations on your reelection to City
Congratulations.
Council. I'm sure it was a hard fight for you since you were unopposed, but we won't tell people that. Yeah, I know you do. All right, if there isn't any more visitation or any more discussion, I will entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay, the motion has been made and seconded. Will you vote with your feet? But don't go too far because we have to sign some papers. Thank you.